Mavericks lose, that's a bad loss to the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are not good. I mean, that was the ugliest jump shooting team that I've ever seen in my life. Watching some of these guys hoist up threes. It looked like a bunch of Bill Cartwrights out there.
And Sean Marions.
Sean Marions.
And by the way, I know their color is yellow. That is not a flattering look for the coaching staff. My goodness. Rick looked like a banana out there.
So I was there at the AAC for the Mavs loss, and when I left, this is why I really do. Look, they were amazing seats. Thanks to my boy Samir. You can't get better seats. But I still, to get the feel of a game, to talk about it on air, I want to watch it at home. Because I can see what social media is saying. I can hear the commentators. It's a different view. Like, my perspective on being there is the size of the players, the speed of the players, the interaction, Luka trash talking nonstop. You can see the fouls up close, the athletic ability, the coaching staff, spying on them, sitting right next to them. But what's the feel? What else am I missing in terms of a game narrative? And I saw Bobby's Twitter account, and I saw DFW trending Jason Kidd. And people are coming for him. When you lose to Mike McCarthy with an end of the game poll question in terms of who you trust more, which Kidd got destroyed the other day from the Tolos, people are not happy with you. Here is Jay Kidd after the Mavs lost last night.
You know, the one thing defensively we got to do a better job is just fouling. I think they shot 40 free throws, understanding if you should give a team like that 40 free throws, it's going to be hard to beat them. And in that first half, I think we were fouling a lot. We took them to the line. The other thing about that is we got to the line, I think, 20 times in the first half, and we shot 10. I mean, we made 10 and we shot 50%. In a game of offense, you got to be able to, every point counts, and we got to be able to be better there at the free throw line.
I want to take some Tolo phone calls on whether you think Jason Kidd should be done and why at 877-881-1053, because you saw an article.
I saw an article on Mavs Moneyball calling for the removal of Jason Kidd as the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to read the beginning of this article to you real quick, Sean.
Need a mural. That's how we get things done in the city with the Mavericks.
For a national televised audience, the Dallas Mavericks coughed up a lead of 20-plus points in an embarrassing loss that the media and fans questioned how far they would go. The coach of the Mavs took to the microphone, asked how the meltdown was possible. He said, this is a game you shouldn't lose. But sometimes they happen. When they do, you've got to stay the course, keep playing, and move on. It's all we can do. That coach was Rick Carlisle, Sean, April 23rd, 2011. They had just fallen to Portland in a gut-wrenching Game 4, up 67-44 with a minute to go in the third. After that game, at whatever Rick Carlisle said in the postgame, the Mavericks went 14-3 the rest of the way in the playoffs. They won the next two games of that series, and then they won 4-0 against the Lakers, 4-1 against the Thunder, and 4-2 against the Miami Heat. 12, 14, and 3 the rest of the way. Meanwhile, we don't know what Jason Kidd said to them in the closed door, but we do know in the public he went after his best player in Luka Doncic, talking about how they got to mature and got to grow, talking about all these things, calling out Luka. Well, it feels like history's repeating itself. During the first season in Milwaukee and last season with the Mavs, he had an immediate positive effect followed by a season of regression. He wants this team to figure it out on the fly. He treats the regular season like an extended preseason, and the playoffs are all that matters. And that's fine. That's true. There's a lot of truth to that. But the article goes on to say the following year in Milwaukee, and it appears right now, was followed by a season of regression. His passive-aggressive communication style, lack of adaptation in game management, public statements, basically comparing his role to that of a spectator, means the Mavs have crossed the Rubicon of dysfunction, Sean.
The Rubicon?
The Rubicon of dysfunction. I don't really know what a Rubicon is, but I do know that when they go on in this article to compare this to the psychological expiration date of a relationship, I know exactly what they mean. The day your marriage dies and the day the movers show up are not the same day. Right?
Right. It's over before.
It's over before. And we may have sat here and looked at this past weekend and realized the same thing happens. Again, this is according to Mavs Moneyball. This is the article. It's not my words. But I'm not saying I don't agree with it. Kid may have lost the team and needs to go, yet the Mavs faithful will have to endure yet at least another year and perhaps more. When he equivocates his role to that of a glorified spectator, he abdicates his functionality as a head coach. The team, they may have already tuned him out. He may have lost the team. We don't know. We don't know if he's lost the team or not. But all I do know is the moment he said, I'm just a spectator like you guys, he completely crossed the psychological barrier within that locker room to where now the players are like, okay, why am I listening to you? You're just a spectator.
You're saying this, or?
No, that's what the article. That's the article.
Okay,
saying.
all right. So we got to decide how much weight we're going to put on that line. Now, Chris, we're going to get to the Tolos here on the hotline in just a second. But yesterday we were referencing a Callie Kaplan article, Dallas Morning News, and I was like, I don't have a Dallas Morning News account. I'm not going to get one. I only listen or read Michael Gelkin from there. But Chris Arnold gave me the recap yesterday while we were talking at the game. And Bobby, he was telling me, and Ben Payton, so that's what I was staring at my phone this entire time. Mm-hmm. Payton did what do they call it? What do you kids call it?
A screen record.
He did a screen record and sent it to me. So I was reading it as Payton was scrolling through the article, sent it to me on my phone. But CA basically said this was a positive article, Bobby, saying that Jason Kidd and Luka have that relationship to where we don't have to worry that Luka gets ticked that Jason calls him out.
Yeah, and Callie writes about what Jason Kidd had to say. Obviously, she puts in the quotes and everything. And after that, she says, flashback to Doncic's first 3 NBA seasons when such criticism from head coach Rick Carlisle might have led to internal implosion. The two had a tense relationship amid Carlisle's controlling style and in-game management. Doncic several times became demonstrative with Carlisle in public view in the run of play and on the bench. But Kidd hasn't, despite being the only front-facing Mavericks official who has critiqued Doncic publicly during an era of NBA player empowerment and movement in which teams often fear upsetting a superstar and prominent trade requests shied away from that criticism because of the relationship they have, the trust that they have. And he talks about, or Callie goes down a little bit and says that, after the Mavericks' blunt film session and a late Monday morning practice, Doncic controlled the facility's music selection, blasting Serbian pop music while running in a 5-on-5 scrimmage to end the workout. He goofed off with several staffers, skipped to celebrate a three-pointer from Maxi Kleber, and yes, even hustled on some scrimmage defense while Kidd looked on. Agree with Kidd's coaching in the loss or not, no grudges apparent. And then the quote there says, the film never lies, Kidd said, it's just being honest.
Real quick, Sean, in this article, there's a video, a photo of Kidd with Milwaukee, calling the team kids, right? John Calipari, and you could tell this in any season at Kentucky, in any given season, there is a point in the season where he goes from calling his players these kids or these players to my guys. And the moment he starts calling them my guys, that's when the smart gambler starts to heavy bet Kentucky.
They're clicking.
And he started recently to call them my guys. So, kind of bet him. And I wonder if Kidd is in that same situation with Milwaukee where, he called them kids. We got a young team. He called them that.
That was just a really dumb line that's going to haunt Jason. The media is going to hang on to that. I'm going to try not to overreact to him saying, I'm just a spectator. I'm here with you guys. That was a really dumb decision. That was a stupid line to say.
I keep thinking, what if McCarthy would have said something like that after a game? We would not let it go. If McCarthy had said something where he's like, oh, you know what? I'm just like you guys. I'm watching it play out on the field.
Yeah.
And McCarthy maybe has more of or did have more of a standing to say that because he wasn't calling plays. He was viewing it. I'm watching. I'm leading people, but I'm just watching. Jason Kidd is actively having to draw these things up.
Yeah, obviously I'm not firing Jason Kidd right now. I'm not pulling a Quinn Snyder. Let's see how the rest of this year goes and then evaluates. And I also have to remember last year when this team tremendously overachieved, and we do have to keep in mind what roster he has. that he's dealing with.
Yeah, I agree. It's way too early. Now, the only thing I will say is it's not too early if the team has tuned him out and he's lost the team. The moment you lost the team, you got to go. And I don't care if it's your first weekend.
But are we overreacting to 1-4 with Luke and Kyrie together? All one possession losses at the very end. That's close. They're not getting blown out.
No, but I would say I could easily argue that one possession losses are worse because it shows that you are dysfunctional.
No, you gotta be close versus losing by 15.
Yeah. Right, you do. But like, there's also a sign. It's what it's doing is it's illuminating the dysfunction.